Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to have Josh back. So, Josh, welcome back, dude.
What's up, my man?
Yeah, Josh. So it's been a while since our first initial interview. I think it was like at least 3 years ago or so.
I
Um,
checked today. Actually, it's four.
four. Oh, Jesus. Yeah,
Yeah,
4 years. So it's been a while, man.
yeah.
So obviously a lot of time has passed since then, and you're not the same guy that I initially interviewed back in 2019. As is the case usually for the people I interviewed, there's usually some kind of growth happening. For some people, some downhill stuff happening as well.
Yeah,
But hopefully yours is growth. Um,
yeah.
what has been your experience like working on your double masculine NF sleep last, which is your last animal, going to be one of the hardest thing for you, um, since we first initially spoke.
Well, let me see if I can process on the spot. So as far as let's say the sleep processing journey, that's what most of my life looks like, I would say. And I'd say that with probably objectivity. I'm sure subjectively it probably might feel like more, but that's really all I seem to kind of do is like consume sleep because I've been in my own little like bubble, you can say, over the last at least probably about 3 years. Yeah. So for those who know, I was married, was dating my ex for a while, and then I got married, and then we were together like 3 or 4 years, but then we split um after about a year of marriage. And so that was probably about through 2.5 years ago or so. So right before that, I was really going into my introverted journey world where I would go on walks every day for 6 to 12 hours, every day for over a year or maybe two at that point. So I was already starting to kind of just go deep into this inner world. And then the last 2 years, especially since like the divorce and all that, has been extremely into my introverted world, right? So I spend most of my time. I actually really enjoy it. I think it starts off as like it's really scary, at least my experience, like to go in that world and walk without any stimulation or anything. Then it becomes like, oh, this is cool. It's not too bad. And then it becomes like, okay, yeah, it feels pretty normal. I kind of enjoy this. And then it becomes like, whoa, I love this. So that's kind of how it's been for me. So yeah, I don't know if that pinpoints kind of what you're asking, but to me, it's been extremely fun and very balancing for me.
Before I ask you the follow-up question, just realized I forgot to ask you what your type is. I mean, I know what your type is, but for people who
Yes,
don't know, just
yes.
give a reminder.
Yeah, I'm double feminine, NITE. I'm blast, play, consume, sleep. So there's that glass lizard where my TE and my SE are both double activated.
Right. And then you are the most extroverted INTJ type.
Yes. Yeah.
And then we'll talk about your social type later, so you can mention that.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep.
So based on your findings when you went on those long walks by yourself, trying to get into your sleep mode, what would you say did you discover about yourself in terms of what is the recurring pattern in terms of the negative emotions that you experience that just keeps coming back because it's NI is the pattern, right? So what is the recurring pattern of emotions that keeps coming back to you, kind of like haunting you almost? Do you have one specific one or a few that you noticed when you went on walks, or not so much?
Well, my game was figuring out all the like the TNF, so all the thoughts that connect with all the unpleasant, what I consider fear-based emotions. So every single time I got aware of not feeling like balanced, I guess you could say. So not like yippee joy, but like peace and like stability and calm. Anything that didn't feel like that, I got more and more aware of because I kept noticing. And as I was cleaning up all this stuff, um, they would just get cleaner and cleaner. And I realized all of them were connected to fear-based beliefs. And what I noticed about beliefs is that they live in imagination, but not in reality. So it's like a story about reality, but it's not actual reality. So once I started questioning these beliefs, it's just like pulling it from the weeds. And then like, I like the snake and the rope analogy. It's like if you're walking down the street, you think you see a snake, you freak out, and then you look closer and you realize there's a rope, and you can stand in front of that rope for a zillion years and never get scared again. So I noticed this was true every time I pulled up a belief for myself. So what's really cool about it was the thing is you have to look closer to be able to notice that it's not a snake and it's a rope. And I haven't found any fear-based belief that didn't turn out to be a rope yet. And it's interesting because my life has been set up, at least in the way where I had so much time to just sit in my head with every single belief all day, every day, and just write them down and question them and spend weeks on a belief or spend minutes or days or whatever it takes. So in that sense, I wouldn't say there was any one thing that was recurring other than like there's a lot of people stuff which surprised me. I didn't know that there was so much people beliefs that would cause me a sense of pain. I didn't expect that. I expected it to be more observery stuff. So I thought that was very interesting. The people stuff was really big, a lot of big stuff. But I could say, with as truthful as I know how to be, honestly, I don't see really, there's not much suffering in my life at all anymore. I don't sense any tidal waves. If there is tidal waves, it's not a painful one. It's just something that I might have to take care of or something, but it's not, at least up to this point, I can't find anything like I don't almost have close to no more suffering or emotional fear-based conflict within myself or within the external world. But I'm completely open to whatever comes, because then I can just do the same process and work it. So I figured out the process of what to do for myself.
Oh my God, dude, I learned so much just hearing you talk. Mainly the difference between us having that NF sleep and then that SF sleep. Because when you were saying that snake analogy, the snake and rope analogy, and how like your beliefs are not real, they're in fantasy world, it kind of,
Yeah,
I was like, oh, so that's what's happening with you guys with the NF sleep with like because NF is, pretty much imaginary, right? It doesn't mean
yeah,
you can't manifest it to make it real, but uh,
sure.
but mine's
Yeah,
S,
at that moment it's imaginary. Yeah.
right? But mine's SF, so it's concrete, right? So the emotions.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was interesting that you mentioned what you mentioned, and I think it's super cool, by the way, that you can actually get into your sleep processing even though your sleep lasts.
Mhm.
So kudos to you, man. That's not easy. I mean, obviously, the one thing that we both have in common is we both have double masculine sleep, so it does help in that case.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, kudos to you, man. Like, not many people want to go do that work, right? So that's super awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like life pushing, because I hit some lows, man, where like the depression felt like it hurt to breathe. Like no joke. It felt that intense. And I pretty much had to. And I had an abundance of all the pleasures and things like that you can get and experience as a human, and even like the marriage and the girls, the money, I've had abundance of all the things that I've wanted, and I felt worse and worse as I kept getting them, and I was so confused. I was like, I see that pattern, so how's that work? And so then I really got intense of like figuring out like, okay, what is my suffering? And I realized every belief that I ever, any time I feel a belief, there's fear. It's created from fear. So fear is belief. They're like one with each other, but they're not reality. So the belief is saying, "Oh, this might happen," but it's not reality. And then I sit and ask and see, like, okay, let's see, let reality show me, and that kind of breaks it down. So, for example, if I feel like I don't want to do something like taxes, let's say something that scares someone like my type, I notice my thoughts are saying that, but but I say, okay, I hear my thoughts, and then let me start doing it. And then when I'm doing it, I realize every time I don't mind it at all, unless I'm listening and believing the thoughts that are saying you don't like what you're doing right now. Because I realize when I'm doing it, I'm actually having fun. it's very fun if I don't see what thoughts have to say about it, but I see what reality has to say about it. Then it's freaking fun, you know? So I've noticed that to be true with everything. I keep testing it every day, and it's really fun and really exciting. Very, very liberating. Because now when thoughts say, "Oh, you don't want to do that," I'm like, "Huh, that's funny. I've heard that before." And then I just go test it and see if it's true. And never once has it not been true that I haven't enjoyed something that thought said I wouldn't, as long as I'm not believing the thoughts that are popping up, or you know, I'll listen to them, but then I test and see if it's true in reality. I don't know if that makes sense.
Dude, I'm so glad you're an info dominant blaster, because like you perfectly explain what NF sleep is. Like I'd never heard anyone do so much clarity, even though you have it last. It's so good. Um,
Oh, cool.
yeah. I like how you also use the SE at the bottom, where like, what is a fact, right? Like when you do your taxes, is it true that you hate it? Well, it's actually okay. So I like that, like you tested it against reality. It's not like you just thought about it in your head and then you're like you came to the conclusion. You actually said,
Yes.
this might be BS. Let's do something about it.
100%. Yes. I've noticed that, man. I notice a lot of it's probably the NFs I talk to where they'll try to figure everything out logically as if logic's the final answer. But to me, it's my personal experience. I think reality is more concrete than logic, because I can think it's going to rain right now outside, and I go outside and there's no rain. So a thought can think anything, it could believe anything. I don't value beliefs anymore because I realize they're just fear based. And when there's fear, there's not clarity. So it's like it distorts your perception of what's true and what's not true. So I don't yeah, I don't buy them anymore. And then I noticed anytime, this is an interesting one, anytime I thought I was unhappy, I realized it was just an unhappy thought. I wasn't unhappy. It was just the thought that I'm unhappy popping up. And then if I just say, oh, okay, I see that, that doesn't mean you have to feel unhappy, but you don't feel unhappy when the thought's not there. The only time we feel unhappy is when we have a thought. And so I kept tracking all those thoughts and writing them down, processing. I spent the last, like, I mean, 3 4 years nonstop. I mean, from the moment I wake up to I go to sleep, pretty much. You know how we can like lock in? That's where I locked in. Yeah.
I think what's interesting about everything you're saying is your sleep and your NF is double masculine, yet you're able to make it flexible. Because you would have the most stubborn NF sleep, right? Like you would be locked in
Yeah.
a certain belief that actually is not serving you. So how did you get to the point where you're like, hey, you know what? I need to be more flexible with this NF sleep world, and I can't just lock in it and just decide that, hey, you know what? This thought that I'm having or this emotion I'm having, this is it. This is it. When it's not it, it's based on.
Yeah. Well, reality. Like I think that we seek beliefs when we're in fear and we want a way out. So we're seeking comfort for a sense of security. But when your sense of security, you can see through it and it sucks, it's actually creating more fear. I think seeking security creates more insecurity. Seeking happiness creates more unhappiness. That's the irony. But I think that it's when you really need a result, you're for real need a result, like truth is all you care about. So beliefs have no value to me anymore, right? So it doesn't matter what my NF believes. My beliefs don't have any value. I need to see what's actually true, what actually is true in reality, and then keep testing it, not just testing it once and be like, got it. It's required an intense amount of self-honesty with myself, because if I'm not completely honest with myself, I'll just BS myself all the way to trying to fake a truth. But belief and truth don't coexist. You either believe it or you don't. So I realized me or no one really believes our beliefs. That's just a temporary way to say I'm afraid of saying I don't know, because I'm placing a sense of security in what I think I do know. So in other words, when we're trying to feel a sense of security in what we think we know, then we use belief as a substitute instead of just going to the truth of seeing what you know. So it's like, I know that there is blah blah blah, whatever. And no one's really it's a shortcut. How can you get to truth if you get stuck at a belief? Because then it makes you think you found truth. Well, try to believe you found truth, and now you can't actually find truth. And the only thing that liberated me was truth, truth, truth. It didn't matter how bad I wanted to get out of pain. It had to be, I had to find truth, not another belief, if that makes sense.
It's interesting you're saying all that stuff and how you're kind of like saying that belief is not the best thing to, I guess, lock down into, because sometimes the belief can harm you more than serve you. Because I got a chance to also interview another INTJ jumper, Leon.
Oh, I like Leon. Yeah.
And then he's double downing on belief, which is kind of different from your philosophy, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm very interested to hear how both INTJs, you know, he's double masculine, obviously, but for him, belief is everything. For you, it's like, no, belief is not
It's
good.
nothing.
It's not good
No.
without the balance of the, you know, reality, you know. So
I personally don't see any value in belief other than motivation to get you started. Other than that, belief should be, for me at least, it's left in the dust because it doesn't get you. Because think about it, man. Wherever there's belief, you got this restless energy and you have fear. So, because belief is created from fear, right? So there's this restless energy. And then when there's truth, it's completely peaceful and stable and balanced. And then there's joy there, liberation, freedom. So to me, that's the North Star. And then on top of that, I think if a belief doesn't have a attachment into it, I would just call it an idea, right? Because and the attachment is fear itself. So you have to carry that fear around with you all day, whether it's you're aware of it in the moment or not, or whether it feels subtle or not. That's a lot of baggage to carry all these beliefs, which is all these fears, and you're really deep down afraid of everything, you know. So, and by the way, I'm not saying this is anything in response to Leon and whatever he does and what works for him is great for him. I just found what works for me.
right, 100%. Yeah, we're not here to shit on
Yeah.
Leon. Well, maybe
Not at all. I think he's awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, whatever floats his boat is cool with me. You know, I just found what floats my boat.
that's funny, man. Um,
Yeah.
is there anything else in the whole NF sleep journey of yours that I have not asked you about that you want to bring to light that you think is important for people to understand, either about yourself or about that specific animal?
Well, I've noticed that all human suffering is built on beliefs. And I say beliefs make you weak and beliefs put you to sleep. So I like things that rhyme. But they put you to sleep. You go unconscious with the belief. Because like, and then you notice all this unconscious behavior coming from beliefs. But what I've noticed is the only problem, there's nothing wrong with them because belief is imagination. And there's nothing wrong with imagination, or we can call it abstract intuition, the abstract piece of intuition. But when we get confused about the two and they're mixed in, we're confused. And that's where confusion is. So for me, if there's any sense of confusion, that means I'm not in reality on some level. So now I need to process my way through seeing what kind of la la land I'm mixing up with reality. Do you see what I'm saying? So to me, the first step is important to get very honest with yourself. But see, that's why if you suffer enough or something, that might kick some honesty out of you. But get extremely honest and start to get clarity and awareness, very crystal clear clarity, not like you think you got it, but like really get clear of like what is belief, aka imagination, fear, restlessness, all the emotions that are unpleasant, I believe, come from fear. So I believe fear expressed in a masculine way is anger. Fear expressed in a feminine way is sadness. All unpleasant emotions are branching from fear, right? And from those two that I can find. And so if you're feeling one of those, you know that you're believing something that's actually not true in reality. So I think it's important to get crystal clear clarity of what the two are, reality. And I'm not saying even just sensory, I'm just saying what's actually true in your experience. Look for truth and then separate that between beliefs and yeah, all that jazz. I don't know if that helps, but
I think the interesting thing about your life, man, is even though you're like an IJ, you're living like a weird ESFP life, you know? Like,
yeah.
kind of, you know, deal. I mean, obviously you're in a different stage
Yeah.
of your life now, but you know, your previous life was very ESFP like, which is so weird. You being an I.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, no word. Yeah.
did you participate in a lot of chaos as well? And did you freak out about those chaos when you were living that kind of like more ESFP lifestyle in your earlier days?
Oh, Oh yeah, I rock the ESFP lifestyle. That's for sure. At least in my opinion, that's probably the IJ's version of it, maybe. But yeah, but the thing is this is the interesting thing about the whole mind is I think it's like drugs withdrawal. So it's like you're feeling a drug withdrawal from the mind doing too much. Then you take the drug to stop the withdrawal, which creates more withdrawals. And then you go in this cycle. Do you see what I'm saying? Where it's like I need the drug to stop the withdrawals, but the drug is creating more withdrawals, and then you keep going. So bringing that analogy to here, my life was doing that. Is like I would I would create so much chaos and then use the nervous energy from that chaos to create more chaos.
Oh,
So yeah, which is pretty interesting because I didn't know what to do with the nervous energy because I was so restless, and I was just like, so I and sorry, your question was what do I remember? What was it about the ESFP lifestyle?
well, if you're living an ESFP lifestyle, you're using your extrovert
Yeah,
sensing a lot, which is your triggering function. So you're like an
yeah,
INTJ using extrovert sensing all day. It's like, aren't you?
yeah.
Are you in a triggered state as a result of?
Oh, yeah. So yes, so that was the drug. Is like there's a trigger state, but it got masked by doing more that creates the trigger state. So it's so funny. I was just talking about this a couple days ago. I was like, it's like the mind is saying, I want peace and rest. Okay. But what it's doing is it's creating restlessness every time it's trying to search for peace and rest. So it's not resting. So instead of just being in peace and rest, it's like, I need to go do these things so that I can be in peace and rest. Do you see what I'm saying? So I see it as the mind is always searching for one of two things. It's searching for a sense of security, which is safety, peace, comfort, or it's searching for a sense of happiness, which is feeling whole, complete, content, and joyful and loving, whatever. So it's searching for security or happiness. But every time let's say if the source of it is right here, every time we take actions, we're moving away from peace and happiness, which is creating more sense of, let's say, security. So it's creating more insecurity and more lack of happiness, lack of wholeness, because it's moving away from its source. So I notice when you see people that are their most, I want to use the word happy, but I think a better word from my experience, I would say just more peaceful, which is happy. It feels like happy. So is I've noticed the further they go away with trying to do more and more to get a sense of happiness and contentment, the more miserable they are,
Right.
and the less peaceful they are. So I just decided, why not stop the whole thing? Why search for any peace or happiness? And then I noticed in that process, well, my beliefs are stopping the peace of happiness because they're always saying, go do this to get more peace and happiness. And then when I go get it, even if you feel a temporary relief, I've noticed it's not because the thing gave me a sense of peace or happiness. It's because I stopped seeking peace and happiness. So if I start with not seeking peace and happiness, I'm peaceful and happy. I don't know if
Oh,
that
I
makes
see.
sense,
So
but
it's almost like ironic how the act of seeking is actually what's causing
oh,
the
that's right.
suffering, essentially. And when you just
Yes.
stop, and then I guess just have gratitude, and that's when kind of things kind of.
Yeah. And then you test it and see if it's true. So you say, okay, well, am I more peaceful now than I was when I was searching for peace? Am I more happy now than I was when I was searching for happiness? And let reality be the truth of that. And that's the best part, because once you ground to truth, it's not moving, right? And then you can keep testing it all day. It wants to get tested because then it appears more clear and obvious and stands stronger as truth. I think
Right.
the truth is like a mountain, and I think of beliefs is like a little hill of sand, which could just get blown over at any moment. So it's scared all the time because it knows it could disappear with more information, with more whatever comes by, you know?
I,
So yeah,
I think the stuff that you're talking about right now, I think it's super good for someone that's in your that similar type as you or your type, because
sure.
being sleep lost, you've accumulated a lot of life experience already, and it's time to narrow down and essentially just
Yeah.
um work with what you already have and see which brings you joy, which doesn't bring you joy, and sort through it. But if someone were to say what you just said and they were like sleep consumed, someone should punch them in the face, because that they need, or like someone that's like consume last or something, or a high sleep.
Sure.
You don't have enough life experience to narrow down yet to come to the conclusion, right? Like
Yeah.
like the
Well,
fact
these
that
can't be beliefs, right? Like I can't like if I tell someone this and they hear it, they're either this is the challenge with information in general is you can take it as a belief or you can take it as a pointing for what to look for. So I'm not ever saying things to like believe, but if they look for it, like no matter what your functions are, if you believe your happiness and security is coming from an object, you will feel less happy and less secure, right? From what I can tell. So to me, it's you may have to go through a stage to your point. I think people might have to go to a stage of trying things and asking themselves, does this really give me the unconditional, sustainable happiness and peace I was looking for? Because that's what we're looking for.
right, okay, that makes sense. I guess at
Yeah.
the end of the day, it's like shoving away beliefs if
Yeah.
there's no truth to it.
Well, and the last piece of that I think is very important is you can't do it with willpower. So you can't say screw these beliefs, I'm done. No. They will fight with a vengeance and they will make you crave whatever you're trying to push away more. The best way to do it, in my experience, is to question them. And when you question them, you got to get very honest to see what's actually true in your experience. And then they fall away naturally because you're looking closer at them. Just like if an unpleasant emotion comes up, you don't want to push it away because you need to see what it is. So how do I know it's a snake or a rope? I don't know until I look closer. So if I had an unpleasant emotion pop up, I want it to get as big as it can so that I can allow it to show all of itself, all of its faces, all of its colors, whatever. And then I can really see what is this emotion for real. And then what sensations are going and just really look at it. I don't want it to leave. And then I know I'm not done until I say I can sit with this emotion for the rest of my life and be okay with it. Then I'm done with the sensation part. And then I can go back and still question the thoughts that brought that, the thoughts that stimulated that, really the belief system that stimulated that unpleasant, fearful emotion.
It's so interesting how we both have FI, but the fact that you have it attached to N and mine attached to S, it makes it
Yeah, that's cool.
so different.
Yeah.
I recently made a video at the end of last year. I did like an SF sleep last update video for myself. And
Oh, okay. I
oh,
saw that, I think.
did you see the whole thing or did you see like bits of it?
I don't think so. Yeah, I just skimmed through bits of it.
Okay. Well, like in that video, I went like thorough for every single aspect of that SF sleep loss, and I'm talking to you right now, and I'm like, what the
Oh,
hell?
I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went like deep dive, like every single like I didn't like every single corner has been approach of that SF sleep loss, and like it's like pretty
Wow.
much like a blueprint of how SF sleep lasts or SF sleep works. But
Oh, that's dope, dude.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm talking to you right now, and I'm like, what the hell's this NF sleep stuff? Is so much different from my SF sleep. There's some
Right.
like the only overlap I can see is the emotion stuff, but yours is like NF, so the emotion is more abstract. That's why you keep saying the word belief, right? I
Yeah.
never use the word belief. It is SF. So for me, the emotion is concrete, but I'm looking for
uh,
a solution for that emotion, that particular emotion, right? So it's a little bit different from yours.
yeah.
Yeah. You
That's
know,
cool. And
like
I think that if we kept going on it, all roads lead back home. So we'll all end up at the same spot. It's like going to the top of the mountain. We're all at the top of the mountain, but we'll start on this side of the mountain, this side of the mountain, all the different functions. But I think that truth always leads to the top of the mountain.
I think you're spot on in the sense that the mountain where it leads to, it's peace. It's peace.
Hmm.
End of the day. Because
Yeah.
I was thinking about mine, like my SF sleep class, and there's an SI word attached to the emotion, right? So for example, for me, when I made that video, I said frustration was the number one emotion I'm dealing with right now, right? So, but then if you
Yeah.
look at all the emotion that I'm trying to you know, work at, uh basically if I do resolve everything, the end result is peace. So it's
That's right.
both of us are going towards the same place, just in a
That's right.
different way based on
I
our.
think that I think that's all humans. So for me, I actually boil it down a little bit to functions. I think this would line up. So I haven't talked to Dave or anybody about this, but I think our OI function or our introverted functions in general, but let's start with just OI. I think the OI is seeking for a sense of security to get to peace. So seeking for peace, right? And then I think the OE is seeking for joy, happiness, fulfillment. So I think that that's why people are having conflicts, because one is saying, don't do this, it's scary. The other one's saying, but that's exciting, you can live. And then the conflict is coming between those functions and people are going nuts because they're like, well, which one is me? Am I the one who's saying be safe, or am I the one who's saying be happy and fun and exciting? And they're missing, they're not breaking it down enough, in my opinion, to like, really, what is this thought asking for? So that's what I had to chop it down. I realized, oh, it's just seeking security and peace. I mean, sorry, peace and happiness, oneness, wholeness, you know. And so if that's what everybody's searching for, then we're going to go through all these different ways trying to find it. But I see through the mind from my mind, and I've questioned it enough. And you know, I think I see it very, very crystal clear. But there's always more to see, and that's just as exciting as for what I have seen.
Right. I mean, ultimately, you need both. You know, like
yeah.
Without one or the other, then you're kind of gonna be crazy.
Then you're exactly. So I think there's a misinterpretation, because I think that we think that if we balance the two, then we'll be good. I find the roots have to be pulled up, then you're good. Because the thing that's causing the seeking is it's the drug again, the withdrawals in the drug. It's creating more of the unhappiness and the more insecurity. So that's the thing is, I think so many people are trying to find the two to bridge, but I don't think that will ever give them what they're looking for. And even if you get the perfect balance, how do you even sustain that? So it's like, you know, it's like I did a little bit of security and then a little bit of riskiness. Yeah, you know, it's like, to me, it's like you got to pull the roots, and everything's rooted in beliefs. In my terminology, my experience, whatever, is rooted in beliefs. So I think of the root is beliefs, the branch as the stories. So you hear people are just saying stories about life all day, but they're not talking about actual, like, they're talking about their stories about life, but not actual life. Because how do you talk about actual life? And then the thoughts are thinking about the stories you created all day from the beliefs. So in other words, all the thoughts, when you notice your thoughts are going nonstop, just check in every once in a while and be like, oh, it's seeking security. Oh, it's seeking happiness. You can see it. And it's doing that based on the story. So it's just talking about the story you yourself, your thoughts are created, which is coming from, well, not, we don't have to say it, you know, but anyways, and then the beliefs that are the root of the story. So I go to the freaking root, I pull that whole thing up and see what's left and what's true. And I realize it's peace, joy, love, contentment, wholeness, oneness, all those hippie things that people talk about.
Right. That's interesting for sure, that you're uprooting the beliefs.
That's right. And then there's no more tricks, because think about, thoughts they don't think about truth. It's like when you have like this water bottle in my hand, I'm not thinking about a water bottle in my hand. They think about non-truths all day. So my brain gets quieter. It's not seeking nonstop. So it gets quieter, peaceful,
hold on, Josh.
calm, stable.
So I just want to say one thing though. So when you uproot the beliefs, you kind of just exist then, because you lose that groundedness that, you know, that was created by the belief. So you're kind of just like, you exist, and you're like, you know, as Jim Carrey said, you're nobody, you're nothing, you know. And
that's right. That's exactly right.
There's no ego. Is that kind of like the final point that you're after?
I didn't know that, but I realized that's what happens. Is then I start to, I don't know how deep we want to go into this, but I realized that the me is also a belief.
Right.
And so when I uproot that and question that, I realized there's no substance there. So then, but it's almost like you see it obviously naturally, because it's like, to see truth, you got to get beliefs out the way. Then when the beliefs are out the way, it's just so obvious. You're like, duh, this is my true nature. This is what I've always been. Oh my God, how did I fall for that? It seems like so silly to have fallen for thinking I'm this separate person that's, you know, doing these separate things and all that. It seems really funny. But it depends. If we don't need to go down that road unless you want to, whatever. I'm happy with whatever. But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like stoicism is kind of like the final goal. Like a mix of that.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey's talking about like how we don't really exist, you know.
Yeah, he's got it. but I think it's going to be challenged because I think people will get glimpses of that, especially if they do like some psychedelic mushrooms or something, because that suppresses the two parts in your brain that are past and future. So, which is your identity, which just comes from thoughts and beliefs, right? So
Right.
you suppress that and then you can get a glimpse in that. But I think it's very hard for people to sustain because they're like, well, I'm back in real life doing real life things. And now it's all gone because they're distracted again by the beliefs, because beliefs distort your vision of truth and reality. But when you pull those weeds up, I found it stabilizes for you. And now it's not just something that you glimpsed or something that makes logical sense, but it's your living experience.
Gotcha. All right, dude. Let's talk about the social types now.
Sure. Yeah.
You said that you think you might be a social type 3.
Yeah.
Can you share how you came up to that conclusion? Because from my perspective, you seem like you have savior 2.
Oh,
You're either like a one,
thanks.
you're either like a one that you're either a 1 or 2, just from what I'm seeing since I started talking to you, and mainly because you have so many different freaking businesses. Like you won't stop opening, you won't stop starting a new business. Like and that's like a 2 addiction. Like they just can't stop, starting a new business, right? It's just like and a lot of ones also do that, so. But then you're a 3, so that means you specialize. So it's a little bit weird in that case, and then also in that case, like, okay, if the reason is because of the ego or the flex, why can't you be a 1? Why are you a 3, right? So it's one of those things. It's like Shan thought she was either like a 2 or 3, right? And then she became a 1, right? So it's like, oh, she, she's not missing responsibility, therefore she cannot be a 3. And then she has ego and flex, and she can also do the specialization thing, hence 1, right? Because then those are the 3. So the friends is the one that goes out of the window. But then you seem very friendly also, so it's one of those weird. But then are you friendly, or are you friendly, or you have real friends? So it's like the other layer to it, right?
Yeah, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
So
let's
I would definitely say it's more of the friendly and not real friends. When I was honestly looking at myself, because I remember thinking a few years ago, even going to the OP stuff, I was like, I don't really have people I'm really actually like close to on a emotional level, but I have people that I click really well with on a TE logical level. So I assumed it was just those functions or whatever. Now, my twin brother, I think, is a type 1. So then I start to really see the difference. So I've noticed for me, I don't naturally enjoy responsibility at all. Actually, that's like my least favorite thing to do in life. But I take a lot of responsibility for me, for my thoughts, my emotions, or whatever, discovering me. But I believe that's because I'm specializing there, which is where I'm down with all the responsibility. No, it's not like I'm like, this person made me mad. Like, that's not hilariously not possible. My belief system that I have somewhere made me mad. So now I got to go in and find out what belief do I have? Because if someone calls me fatty McFat right now, then dude,
oh,
I don't care. I'm not fat. You know what I'm saying? But if I was insecure thinking I might be chubby, now I'm triggered and now they hurt my feelings. It was never them anyway. It was just me,
right.
right, the whole time. So I think that with assuming I'm a social type 3, I'm very responsible for things that I am specializing in, but not really in businesses. I used to have a bunch of people, partners and stuff, because I couldn't. I needed them for my accountability. They're like my accountability buddies. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But things like bodybuilding and all that kind of like helped me a little bit, but it's definitely was a lifetime grind kind of thing. So yeah, I hope that kind of paints a little clarity. But I would say number 3, because I'm all in on what I specialize in. So I was specialized in entrepreneurship 4 years ago. When we were talking that, I was all in. I used to specialize in bodybuilding, all in. I specialized in making music, and me and my twin went on touring the nation and things like that, all in. I'm all in on whatever I do, but I also have like maybe a little bit EP variety gigs too here and there. But I get really obsessed with what I'm into. I eat, sleep, and breathe whatever I'm into. It's all I listen to. It's all I think about. That's all I do.
Yeah, because I think the way they describe like number 3s is like, for 20 years you'll be doing one of the same thing, pretty much, and the fact that you skip from music to bodybuilding to entrepreneurship. Like
Yeah.
there's like the skipping happening. And when it comes to social type, the way you get type is your life pile, and your life pile shows that you're doing you're doing different shit, man. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where have you thought about reaching out to Dave and Shan to get your social type official, like to get it like
Yeah, that's a great question. I thought about it just because I missed talking to them.
yeah,
It's weird in the sense that I'm not that concerned about my social type because I'm just concerned about my sense of well-being. You know, like
right now?
if it would help that, but I don't see it really helping much because I do what I do and that's the truth.
Right.
So whatever I do is what I do, and if it causes me pain, I go look for it, you know.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so but in that sense, I would love to see if they see me as something different or anything like that, but it will just be for fun because I like information is fun, you
Right.
know.
That's right. Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
so yeah, that would
Yeah. I enjoy information, but I also noticed that when I store it as a belief, I'm trapped. I haven't been into OP for the last couple of years, actually, like at all. That's why I didn't watch your stuff, just not because of you. I just haven't been into it, because, well, I just laser focused on my thing. But also, I've noticed that information can turn into beliefs really quickly if you're not aware. So I notice a lot of TEs, especially they will blast things that they picked up, and me too, by the way, in a lot of the old interviews we're watching. With you, I was cringing. I was like, oh, you know, because I'm cringing. I was blasting a lot of things that was information I picked up, which made logical sense and it seemed to be true, but it's a belief. So
right.
now, throw all that the freaking heck out the window, and then now I'm very clear and honest with myself. What do you know from experience? And then if you don't, and so I get better and better at making sure if I am blasting something that's information based, that I turn into a belief for myself. I say, I don't know for sure. This is an idea for now. But you know, but this is what this person says or whatever. So let's get clarity there.
I think this is why I like doing the follow-up interviews, because I know everyone, has evolved over time. And when you look at your old self, there's like a part of you that cringes. It's like, oh my God, what the hell? But it's kind of fun,
Oh my God.
especially some of the stuff that you say in the past. Like I had an interview with Dallas. This is like an infamous interview. I don't know if you know about the context, but um, people started making fun of me. They said, "Oh, this is Kendrick's NE what do you call it? Invasive thoughts," because the NE has a lot of
Yes.
so I don't know if you saw that meme, but like I said to Dallas, like, you don't seem like you're gay. That's what I said to him, right? And then like, people started making memes out of it in the community. I'm like, oh my God. Like, it's
That's funny.
and
I
then,
have a question for you, Kendrick. I'd be curious to see. I think I'm seeing that TEs do this. Like, I gathered information. It makes logical sense to me blast time.
yeah.
Well, especially elite blast, but no matter what they are, I see it with missing blast too. Um, do you think that TEs is doing that because they're looking for practical, but TIs is more looking for truth? Or do you think that everybody's kind of in there, the same thing, but they're just slower to say the information lines up to me, makes sense? So here we go. Does that make sense of what I'm trying to say?
Can you say that again? It's a little bit.
Yeah, okay, let me try to say it clear. I didn't say that very clear. So to me, it seems like TEs are blasting accumulated information. And so they're looking for, even if a belief works, I'll take it. Let's just use it because it works. Where it seems to me like TIs is more concerned about what's actually true in reality and what's not. Is that true at all, or is that just my
Um,
just what I'm not seeing right?
I mean, there's some truth to kind of what you said about like the TE would, take what's existing out there and then use it right
Which
away.
I've learned that from watching myself, by the way. So yeah.
Um, and then the TIs, they are looking for the objective truth. But if you look at it from like a magnifying glass, you could say, the TE is looking for the objective truth because they're testing it against reality. Well, the TI,
Mm,
they, TIs are known to have a big ego, and even
right.
if something already works, they refuse to use it because they think what they have is superior to the other TIs, right? So,
Sure. Oh, so
so
they,
as
yes.
a result of that, theirs is not objectively true unless they release it into the wild, essentially, right? Either by
Yes.
executing on their TI right away instead of perfecting it first, kind of like how a TE would, or creating a TI prototype passing it to their TE friend to execute upon, and then getting the feedback to further hone the TI. Eventually, the answer is we need to work together, right? But
Sure.
it's
So it could be the
paradox. It's
okay,
like
go ahead.
it's like
Yes.
contradiction almost, where the TI says
Yes.
truth, but they don't have the truth because they haven't tested against reality. Well, the TE is not speaking for truth per se, but they end up getting the truth because the reality will give you the feedback on what actually works, right?
That's right.
So it's like a
That's like the thoughts. That's the thing I'm seeing so much. I feel is like thoughts doing that trap with itself.
well,
It's
okay.
like
Sorry to cut you off,
no,
but
go ahead. No, you're fine.
it's what you're doing with the FI. So if the FI emotion is fake, you're gonna uproot it because you're gonna test it to reality, kind of like the FE people would, to see if that emotion is actually real. So you're doing it already subconsciously.
Yes.
You kind of like came to the conclusion, which is awesome, right? Like share your feelings is pretty much like the message with the FI, right? Share your feelings because it might not be true, right? Even though
Oh, right.
you feel like it's so real, but it's not. Maybe it's not real.
Sure.
Like what you said earlier,
Yes.
you're thinking it, and then when you think about it, then you think it's real. But it's only when that
Yeah.
thought is there that it's real. You know what I mean? So
It
it's
doesn't exist without a belief. Yeah.
yeah, or testing it against reality, essentially. Like
Yeah. Both. Yeah, exactly. Because even if I uproot it and it's like, oh, this, I still want objective reality that's I still got to test through reality to make sure truth is truth. Do you see what I'm saying? It always stands the test of
yeah.
time.
Well, I mean, I want to go back to the social type because I think it's kind of funny.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so for me, so Dave was telling everyone I was a 4 in the community, right? And I was like, I don't feel like I resonate with 4. I know because like I don't know if you know about the social type where um play is attached to save your friends, consume is attached to save your responsibility, aka to they call it generalist now, because you're consuming different skill set essentially. Um, blast is correlated with specialization, right? And then you have save your blast, so you might
Ah,
think, oh, I'm specialist because I have the blast, but maybe that's not the case, right? So
sure.
and then the last one
Yeah.
is sleep is correlated with number one with flex because it's all about the inside, right? Like about me, essentially. So
Sure.
if you look at my animal stack, play, blast, consume, sleep, that is a straight flush for number 4, which is first one is play, friends, second is blast, specialization, right? And then consume is responsibility, and then sleep is ego, right? Ego flex, right? So he's telling everyone I'm like a number 4. And I'm like, it doesn't feel. I feel like there's like a cognitive dissonance going on. It doesn't feel like it matches. So I was like,
Sure.
you know what? I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. So I just paid him the money and I sent him all my documents. And the good thing about being typed by Dave and Shan now is they have a section now. It's called supporting documents. So you send your videos in, and then you have a huge section for supporting documents, which is great, like for improvement.
Oh, that's cool.
A lot of people get mistyped, right? Because like not everyone, but like there's like a small percentage that do get mistyped, right? Like so
Sure.
um and the good thing about Dave and Shan is they're saying, yeah, we've mistyped a few people, but now they're fixing it, which is great, right? Like so the supporting document section, I loaded it with so much stuff to show that um the cognitive dissonance between the typing of 4, right? Essentially. Uh
Yeah, right.
so I sent a bunch of stuff. So like what the first thing I said is like, okay, for me, straight flush, play, blast, consume, sleep. That makes me look like a 4. Second one is life pile. Look at my life pile. I'm not doing one thing. I'm doing the fitness stuff for 10 years. That's true, right? But I also have this YouTube channel. I have a travel blog. I have a travel YouTube channel. I work as a recruiter for 2 different companies before, and I work, I've done like a bunch of different shit, right? So like my
Right.
file says I'm doing a bunch of different stuff, kind of like you actually.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
the next thing is, I said to them, and here's the biggest one. I think this is what eventually got me type as a number 2. I said I am not missing flex because I tell people I've been to like just a few days ago I reached my 100
Yeah.
I reached my 100 country, right? I've now visited 100,
Wow.
and I don't have any problem flexing that. I tell people I've been to 100 countries. I'm a world traveler.
Dang.
So so I have flex. I have like some flex. It's not like I flex all the time. It's just like this one area where I flex, where it's travel, right?
Sure. Sure.
Like I tell people like I'm more travel than most people in the world, right? Like that's kind of like my area of,
Yes.
but it's a
Yeah.
small area, right? And like I drop it and then I leave. I don't stay long enough that it becomes cringe, right? Um,
Yeah.
So that's like when Dave gave me my social type back, he's like, yeah, you have the chill flex where you drop it and you go. Because the ones with the savior flex, they becomes cringe because they keep going at it. And then people, you kind of just lost the person already.
Yeah.
It's important to flex, but not long enough that it's like cringe, right? So drop and go.
Sure.
For me, it's like been to 100 countries. That's it, right?
That's it, done.
That's it, done, right? Not like, oh, I'm the best, blah, 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 all that shit. Kind of like,
Yes.
like a lot of the number ones who it's like, oh, I'm so good, blah, blah, blah. And, you become narcissistic. And, psychologists actually think like narcissistic people are the most insecure people deep down inside because they're seeking for external validation to gain confidence and self-esteem. So it's kind of like
Sure.
it's like the number ones are the most confident but the most insecure at the same time. It's like
Yeah, that paradox.
you have a brother that's a number one. Maybe you've seen it a lot of times where
Yeah.
extreme confidence to the point where like insanity, where it's like it's too much, but then suddenly it becomes so insecure. It's like what the hell's going
Of
on?
course. Of
Yeah,
course. I think of that as the more you seek security, the more you create insecurity.
right.
So I think it's the same thing. Yeah. And what's
Oh,
interesting is,
so
just 2 seconds. Is like my dad is a double masculine, FEJ, from what I type him as, just like Gary V, because he's a number one. Super hard flex. He's flexing like nonstop. Like, check out this fish I caught. It's the biggest one this year. Blah blah blah. I beat everybody in this. He wants to beat everyone in everything. He won't try to beat you in one thing. He tries to beat you in literally everything. But go ahead and say what you're gonna say.
yeah, no, I was just gonna say that the fact that you keep bringing up security makes me think that, hey, maybe three makes sense for you because three seek security and they seek routine, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yeah, IJ.
yeah, so is it because you're a three or is it because you're an IJ? It's like it's one of those things that
Yeah,
using, right?
yeah. I'm super open, man. I'd love to see if there's more information there. Because what would you think I'd be a number two?
You feel like a number two just because you keep starting new stuff. Like there's always like a
Okay.
like music, bodybuilding, entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Even within entrepreneurship, you had like the fitness business, and then you try doing like a business for other entrepreneurs also. Like entrepreneurs journey.
Yes.
You know,
Uh-huh.
and then you teamed up all
Yeah, that's cool.
with with Austin and what's his name again? I forgot his name. The other
Oh, Julian.
Julie, yeah, right. Like you team up with them. You guys started this other thing here, like this like Q&A, this personality Q&A. I'm like, dude, you keep opening
Yeah.
new doors to start. You won't stop. You won't stop. You already have something that's already established. Your fitness stuff, but then you won't stop
Yes.
opening new doors. And the fact that you won't stop tells me it's like I'm like, dude, are you a two? Like you won't stop, man. Like you won't stop.
That's
So
funny. Yeah.
and then I'm like, you don't have any real friends? Aren't you friends with Austin? You guys like saw each other in person and stuff, and you guys talk
Oh,
all.
yo, I do. I do. Well, and this is my perception from years ago. I remember thinking about this and I was like, I just don't feel like really close to anyone, but I feel like I'm really cool with everyone. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, I got all of my homies and stuff, but in a way, I don't. God, this sounds bad, but like when I'm in special, like let's say specialist mode or just IJ mode, we can say, I just I'm like kind of go away, everyone, and then they have to keep bugging me, and then I'm like, fine, I'll answer my phone. You see what I'm saying? But
Okay,
that could just be an IJ thing. I'm not saying that's a type three thing.
so just on what you said right now, Dave made a comment about that actually, that the exact thing that you said. He said it to me. So he said, Kendrick, you are a two because work comes before friends. He said that to me. Work comes
Mm,
before friends. He's like, you are double activated play, so you can't not engage with people, right? But
sure.
watching you carefully, and the one thing I noticed is you're sneaking out to do work. You're finding a way to get away from people to do work. It's almost
Yeah,
kind of
I
like
relate to that.
right, like you want to do the work. No one told you to work. Number fours would not stop hanging with people.
It's like my oxygen. Yeah, it's like yeah, that's how it feels for me.
Exactly. So when you said what you said about, you're in work mode, telling everyone, please leave me alone for now so I can work. It's like it's
Yeah.
like a traditional two, how the two would be like, work comes before friends. It's not like I don't care about my friends. It's like the work comes before my friends.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's a balance, right? Because like, dude,
Yeah.
like one time I was telling you I might stop by Colorado. You're like, come stay at my house. That's what you were telling me, right? I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
how are you not saying your friends? Like the number threes and number ones would not say that. You're like, yeah, I have a you're like, I have a guest room. Come stay in my place, you know.
Yes,
Give me
yes.
give me your phone number and everything. I was like, how are you not saying your friends, you know?
That's interesting. Yeah, yeah, I haven't, that's very cool. I don't know. That's cool from seeing it from that perspective because there's so many variables that because I haven't even really dug into the social types very much. I just kind of got the gist of them. But because I don't know what's a function and then what's a social, you see what I'm saying? It's like, it's confusing, at times because I'm like, maybe it's the sensory that's annoying me,
Right.
or maybe it's, and I want to stay in the abstract world, or maybe, you see what I'm saying? It's hard to say, but that's cool. Yeah, that's good to
Because
ponder.
Austin thinks he's the number three, right? And I actually believe him based
Yeah.
on what he's
Yeah.
stuff that he's saying, right?
Yeah.
And then like one of the stuff that Austin told me about like you guys, because he tells me about you guys always like talking and stuff, and like how
Mm-hmm.
you guys would like argue and have like bicker about the stupidest thing, and like
Mm-hmm.
and then so one of the things that he told me was like you're hyper responsible for everything. So isn't that like a two? Like you are like just hyper responsible for everything. You refuse to not take responsibility for something, you know? And then it's like
I feel,
it's
yep.
broad too. It's like I want to take responsible for everything, you know? And I've seen that in you over the years.
I
Like
wonder if it's part of feeling flexy. Well, okay. I wonder if it's because I hate responsibility with like sensory things by default, right? At least that's what my thoughts say until I do it.
sure,
So yeah, so that could just be a function thing, right? So yeah, because anything that has to do with well, I guess NIFI, I'm
yeah,
like super responsible for.
sure.
Um, or the tribe, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to ponder that more. I haven't processed that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I
I'm
mean,
glad you brought that perspective up. That's cool. I'm excited to kind of think through it.
yeah, I mean it's hard to say for sure, but like I mean when you're saying I don't want to be responsible for sensory, I'm like, dude, I'm an ENFP. I also have an S in the bottom like you. And I also hate the sensory. And if I could outsource it to I would be so happy, you know. Um, one last thing I want to ask you before we wrap up the interview.
Sure.
One of the weaker cross checks for the social type is the love language. It's like a weaker cross check, but it is in
Yeah.
it's like a final layer, I guess you could say, like as a supporting document, you could say. It's the love language, right? So um number ones have words of affirmation as their love language, while number twos have acts of service, number threes have gifts, and number four has quality time, right? And then for touch, they claim it's a masculine sensory thing. I don't think that's the case. I think touch is actually extrovert sensing. That's what
Yeah.
because I have
Yeah.
I have introverted sensing, and I think touch I have that if I have masculine sensory, that means I would like to have touch as my love language, but it's not. It's like lower. It's like number four, right? Like so for me it's like um what do you call it? Acts of service, which is tied to number two, hence why I'm number two, right? And then second is quality time, number four, hence why it's
Sure.
two, right? And then number three is words of affirmation, which is my demon flex, but it's activated. It's like a hobby flex, right? And then last one is gifts, because I'm not a three, so I don't care about the whole gift stuff, right? You know, and for
Right.
touch, my touch is number four, and then five is gifts. And then for touch, I only like to touch people that like I know. If I don't know you, I don't want to touch you, right? And I don't want you to touch me also. Like I've been to parties where like girls will grab you. I'm like move my arm. I'm like I actually did that. I remember in a party I went to. This girl would grab my arm. I went like this, right? And then she was like shocked, right? And then I was like, oh, why did I do that? That's so aggressive, you know? Like
That's
so
funny.
so
Yeah.
for you, what would you say is your love language? I know I can tell touch is one of them, but like what's that?
I'm a touchy guy, man. Like I touch guys, girls, everyone, and I have to keep remembering that some people don't like to be touched. It's like that's out of my. It's like I don't naturally know that, so I assume everyone wants to be touched. So I would say quality time and touch are the two. But to me, it's weird. I don't know if they can change. I'll just tell you, I don't have interest. Okay, now that my cup is more full, I enjoy, I'm so okay. Like I feel movable there. Like I'm okay with whatever somebody else likes in a sense. However, by default, I wouldn't do gifts. I wouldn't do acts of service really. That would be like, I'd say gifts will be bottom, similar to probably you. Acts of service is the second to last. I would say words of affirmation, I really don't care about. But I'm also aware that's just their belief in their story, which has nothing to do with me. They make me whoever they dream of me to be, and
Right.
that's who I am to them. And so I guess probably just gonna take more responsibility there. Because I did I did enjoy some flattery throughout my life, like in a way. So and then but I would say the top two are touching then quality time. That'd be the order. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I'm a touchy mofo, man.
Yeah, that makes you a four then, which is kind of interesting now. You know, like, 'cause-
Yeah, when I'm around people, I love people, man.
yeah.
Like, but when I'm in my specialization, well, I don't want to use that word implying I'm saying number three, but like when I'm in my zone,
Yeah.
it's like I just don't care. Yeah.
Oh, so dude, so number fours are specialists, you know, and also number fours do a bunch of different stuff, you know. So
Oh,
that's something
okay.
to keep in mind now.
Yeah.
Something to
Yeah, that's good.
yeah,
Yeah, that's fun.
based on what you just said, right? So I'm like, oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, one last thing is I do have a friend that
Yeah.
looks exactly like you in
Oh,
Canada.
he's that good looking, dude? Oh man, I gotta meet this guy.
Yeah, except he's Vietnamese, but he looks exactly like you, talks exactly like you.
Vietnamese Josh.
Yeah, Vietnamese Josh, yeah. But he grew up in Canada, so he's like super whitewashed and everything, you know.
Sure, sure.
So yeah, and he's the number one because like for me, like for every time I talk to him, the thing he keeps telling me is all I think about is destroying people, conquering, winning, achieving.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this
Uh-huh.
guy. And he's like, all my friends are pieces of shit. That's what he'll tell me, right? I'm like, oh my God, this guy. And the other thing I also noticed is like this guy won't stop touching me. Every time I'm with him,
Oh.
he'll like stand like really close to me and like really like touchy feely and stuff. And I'm like, and I got used to it eventually, but at first I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
Sure.
Why is he like touching me and stuff? Like, why is he so close? Like he'll
Is he
put
a
his
double
face.
masculine or you see him as a
He's like you. He's double feminine. Like he's
oh, do you see a double feminine? Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
His face would be like right beside my face, and he's like looking at my bottom. What's going on here? You know. But like I'm like, oh, okay. He's just like one of those guys that's like touchy feely. Eventually, I got used to it. I'm like, okay, it's not. It's fine. It is what it is.
Yes, yes. That's cool.
All right, Josh. Thanks for coming out and updating me on where you're at in your life right now. You know, both from a personal side, the typology side of things, and also
Yeah.
your journey working on your functions and stuff.
Well, dude, I gotta say, it's been fun seeing your journey the same, dude. Because you're, to me, I don't know if it's my perspective or what, but you're way different to me, and you seem much more. I'm doing the tribey butt kissing thing, but it's true. You seem much more balanced. Yeah, just balanced. Um, and my intuition senses it as more internal balance. So it's pretty and more mature, just a lot different. But it's all good stuff, man. It's cool to see, and so it's fun, man. I can't believe it's been 4 years. That's freaking nuts. So I guess something better have changed, or that's not good. But yeah, we're it's really cool to see your evolution and your awareness of the functions is insane compared to like back then to me now. Yeah, so very cool, man.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, man.
All
Just giving
right.
some quick DE love, my dude, but it's true. So it's my truth.
All right, man. Keep in touch and hope everything goes well for you moving forward.
Cool, man. I look forward to seeing you in another 4 years.
All right.
See you, bro.